So now we need to go back into the past, to Latvia, and to a place where there are gods in everything. Gods in the rivers, the sun god, god of the or goddess of the morning star, the god of the tree of dawn as well. Basically gods in everything, in the rocks, everywhere. Like in other places, Shinto beliefs in Japan as well. But my grandmother was born in Latvia, and they were in Germany in this camp. When she was having my father there, then she apparently went into a coma for about 3 days, and they wanted to take him away from her. But she regained consciousness and had to fight to keep my father, basically. They were on the run, leaving before the Russians came in at the close of World War II. And then the option came up to go to Australia, so they took a boat and came out to Australia. Sometimes I say, invest in experience, because money can't buy the past. So now we've got to go to the shores of the Derwent River in Hobart in Tasmania, where we had our family had our first house, and we stayed there until I was about 3 years old. Then we moved up to what I call the mountain, but the traditional name for it now is Kunyanyi, and it used to be known as Table Mountain, then Mount Wellington, but I've always just called it the mountain because it was effectively my backyard. One of my first memories was playing with my older sister, and she had a honeysuckle. She came running down, and then I thought if I sucked on it I could taste honey. After that we were up in the mountain, and my grandmother was there too. She lived close by. We're in the house that my dad grew up in there, and she would take me on walks into nature, into the wilderness. It was a big thing for me, I suppose, but they were probably just small walks for her. But she taught me how to connect with the land in silence, and how to walk through the land and up waterfalls and stuff. And she was always there. I would slip and she would grab me. She saved me a few times, I think, but she was just teaching me how to move through the land. Then, as I grew a bit older, we were lucky to have really great neighbours. One neighbour, we did cooking there. Well, we did cooking at all the places, I suppose, making sandwiches and chocolate and all these other things, and playing computer games and stuff, and experimenting, doing lots of things outside as well, making water slides, playing with remote-controlled cars, kites, catching insects and stuff, and playing with fire, literally, as well. That could have ended badly many times, but yeah, luckily we survived somehow. And we're out all day. We weren't allowed to stay inside, really. We had to go outside and explore. So that's what I did every day. On bikes as well. We had our bikes where we'd go along the track behind our house, all of us together, and explore, and then just go into the bush where there weren't any tracks. And there was always an adventure, climbing over logs and stuff, and then falling down and trying to take care of my brothers as well, and to find new places just to explore. Waterfalls as well. When it rains there, then waterfalls come out of everywhere, and it was amazing to me to see that this world transformed. And when it snows as well, it doesn't snow so much anymore, but when it snowed before, then we'd get quite a big dump of snow, like maybe 60 centimetres or something, and at the top of the mountain it would be metres deep as well. But when that happens, then the world transforms as well, and everywhere becomes new to explore. And it's amazing to have those first footprints somewhere, to track in and find these new worlds that would be new every time it snowed as well. But that's what I did, and that's what I've continued to do all around the world, is just explore and go into paths, go into places where there aren't paths, I should say. And so I spent my childhood doing that with the neighbours, and they were so great. All the parents encouraged us to do that, I suppose. They never wanted to shut down our world too much. They wanted us to explore, I felt, and to experiment. I would make cubbies up in the trees as well, and I made a golf course, I made a skateboard ramp as well, I made a rock climbing wall, I made what we call flying foxes, zip lines, and one time it was too loose and I jumped out of a tree and it just caught tension just before I hit the ground. Or I hit the ground, but it wasn't so hard. It extended, and then it absorbed some of my fall. Really, I was lucky not to fall out of a tree, because I'd be climbing up probably 20 metres or so, maybe 30 metres, even up to the top of pine trees with the wind blowing and the tree going like this. But somehow, they didn't break. They held my weight. I wouldn't have weighed much either. But I mean, that was a daily thing, and that was probably a huge amount of exercise, because you're pulling yourself up or using your legs, both your legs and your arms, all the time. That I could get up trees and do all that stuff. And I love doing that stuff up until today, and I always will, I suppose. Because when you're in nature, then you always reconnect. If you feel stressed or something, you can just get into nature, and I think it gets rid of that stress. So one of the first main adventures, I suppose, I did when I was 10 or 11, I think, was to ride up the mountain with my next door neighbour. And I remember my wrists being so sore because I'd never ridden for so long, going up. And it was only probably 2 or 3 hours or something like that. And then it's only about 12 k's, and I do that easily now. I was doing that just for exercise. I think it was about 50 minutes to get up there or something like that, and then I'd ride back down. But then other memories are memories with my father. I remember being in the top of his pack. I must have been really small. I think it might have been on Maria Island maybe, and I remember looking down and thinking I saw a snake or something, but I felt like I was riding on the back of a dinosaur, moving through the wilderness, with this view that was 3 or 4 times higher than what I was used to. And then other memories were of rock climbing, abseiling, rafting down these freezing rivers where I thought I was going to get hypothermia as well, because of the water was so cold. It's about 4 degrees, and because of the tannins in the water, then it's black as well. And there's trees beneath the water as well, logs, that can be deadly. And my father's mentor, Olegas Trahanis, died in that way. He was trapped under a log, and my father found him, and he said that he knew he would. He knew that he was there, and that was the end of his father figure, I suppose, because his father was lost in the confusion of World War II, I suppose. We don't know. We don't even know if he was Latvian or German or what really happened. But all that side of the family disappeared, and now there's no one left on that side of the family, including my father and my grandmother. And so those things, just jumping forward, when my grandmother died, then it made me think. It made me think a little bit about life. I was probably about 10 years old, I think. And then my father died, and then that really hit home for me. And I thought, I have to use every moment that I can. And for me, the maximum use of time is to explore, is to see this world, is to meet people, is to go into cultures, is to go into nature as well, and to experience all these environments. And so I've done that up until now. But yeah, going back into the past again. So one time I was out with my father in Cradle Mountain. Out there, it's a national park in the Central Highlands of Tasmania, and he would continue to walk, and I remember just sitting down and starting to cry because he kept on going. But that's what I needed, because he needed to teach me to keep on going. And now, today, I can keep on going, it doesn't matter. I can just keep on walking. And I'm relaxed about it too. That was a crucial difference as well, because before I used to have stress in my heart, stress in my mind, but now I can move. The body feels stress, but you just always let it go. You always let it go, always let it go. And that's because of the pilgrimage as well that I did in Japan, walking about 70 kilometers a day. because the only way to continue that, to continue walking, was to be in a meditative state, basically. You couldn't be negative or positive, because if you're positive, your body actually became weak as well. And negative, you would feel pain coming up from your feet. But I'll talk about that later. So I went out into Cradle Mountain National Park, and all these puddles that my father was going through, to me they were waist deep, and that I was disappear in one or something. And there was so many, but it was amazing because, you know, I was in this world, in what's called Waterfall Valley, with waterfalls coming out of everywhere, and it was amazing. And I remember going to one waterfall, and you can go in behind the waterfall, and I could whisper from one end far away, and my father would be up the other end, and he could hear me because the sound would travel along the curvature of the inner wall. And that time as well, it snowed on the way out. And also I remember that night as well, listening to my father breathing. He had sleep apnea, so he would stop breathing for 30 or 40 seconds at a time, and I would push him to get him breathing again. And so that was no doubt, you know, increasing the stress to his heart, because he ultimately died of a heart attack. But anyway, the next morning my dad woke up and then made me a suit out of plastic bags, a top and bottoms, even though I had rain gear as well, just to keep me a bit warmer, I suppose. And so we walked out of there through the snow, and I saw wallabies in the snow as well. And then we were coming around Dove Lake, where you go out of the park, and I remember my dad stepping down, and the green pack that he always had, the strap broke in that moment, just close to the exit of the park. So he fixed it up, and he was taking a photo as well. And I remember he had a Pentax light meter as well, spot meter, which I would use. I would play with that all the time. I didn't really know what it was doing, but I'd like to see the digital readout on the display. So I remember in this time, you know, the 80s, I remember there being so many more insects, because I go back now, and everywhere I've been around the world, I don't see as many insects. Not in the Amazon, even in Ecuador in 1998, when I was down there, then I felt that there were many more insects. I remember being out at night and just seeing the fireflies communicating with each other, and these huge insects flying around my head and stuff. But I haven't really seen that so much in all the countries that I've been to up until this day, and I'm sure back in the 60s there were even more. And I think the population of the Earth was about 2 or 3 billion now, where it's like 7 billion now or something. So there's just a lot more people around. And here in the Sierra Nevada, they say that basically the Earth's drying out. And what we're seeing now is that the rains are moving down lower and lower, whereas before it used to be snow in the highlands. And you can see, if you go up to the peaks here, you can see that where the snow was, and where the glaciers carved out the entire mountain. You know, these things that are these massive troughs that are over a kilometre deep, I'm sure, and then just a bald landscape where you can see that the snow was. And if you talk to the old indigenous people, the Mamos here, then some of them will tell you about how it was in the past. But now, so you would get a lot of snow up on top, and then that would feed everything. All the rivers would be full, and they talk about that the rivers don't flow just down here, they flow up and down. It's all connected from the sea to the peaks. And if there's any energy being blocked along the way, then that disturbs everything, basically, they say. But in general, they say that the Earth is drying out, so we're losing water. Going to Fiji, that was probably a turning point for me, I suppose. We went there as a family. It was the only overseas family trip we ever did in the end. But we went to Fiji, and it was absolutely amazing for me, because I sat on this huge 747 plane, and we got to, I think, Suva, the main airport, and then we got a flying plane, hopefully it's a flying plane, but a boat plane to an island, just off the main island, and that was amazing. It was a historic plane as well, yellow and white thing. I thought it looked like a bumblebee, so we landed there in the surf and then went up onto the beach a bit. And I remember the belts being really high above me because I was so small and trying to look out the window and stuff. But that was absolutely amazing for me, and amazing experience. And I think my mum wanted to do that and organise that. And so all these things, all these little things that you can do for kids, I know how much they amplify in the future. These experiences, they might seem like a little thing, but they're huge to a little child, and they can have a huge effect as well on what they do in the future. So for me, that was amazing. And to be on the beach as well with this hot sand and hot rain as well, which I'd never felt before. So we arrived on this island, this little island, with planks leading through the mangroves, and then I suppose, what are they, yabbies in their little holes that I would see sucking through the mud and stuff. So we walked along these planks with Jerry and my older sister, Liv, and we went to this house, and there seemed to be incense coming out of it and everything, smoke from incense and stuff. And there was an old woman there, which in hindsight, I think it might have been his mother actually, or some relative. But she gave us both these bracelets of shells, which I had for a long time until they dried out and disintegrated.